want to thank everyone for being here. I know it's been a bit tough having to reschedule this a few times, and so it's great that we can actually get together and get this done, especially with how important these awards are for everyone. And first, I want to begin with explaining exactly what the awards are, so people can kind of understand what the importance is here. Since 2007, the Bix Lives Award has been presented typically during the Bix Jazz Festival every year. Unfortunately, since it went virtual, we've had to postpone it, and we're hoping that in 2021, the next recipient can have it then. But the people who receive the award are those who exemplify what it means to keep Bix's legacy alive. Recipients are selected by the board of directors at the Bix Museum through a nomination for the honor. A bronze likeness of Bix is presented to those recipients during a ceremony, and again, usually at the Annual Jazz Festival. To be selected for the award, an individual, group, or organization must satisfy 3 major criteria. Over the years, they must show a concentrated effort in promoting, preserving, and presenting the musical genius of Bix Beiderbecke, has created a greater understanding of Bix Beiderbecke's contribution to American music culture, and has proven to be an advocate for Bix Beiderbecke and his legacy by their efforts in learning and promoting the history of Bix Beiderbecke's life. So the 2 individuals who will be presented with this award today exemplify what it means to keep Bix alive and have dedicated many years of their lives to do so, not only in the Quad Cities, but have done globally. For the first recipient, I'm going to ask the Bix Memorial Society board member, Michelle Juring, to come up and present the award to them.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this today because this is quite an honor. The first recipient of the 2020 Bix Lives Award is Josh Duffy. Josh is a Quad Cities native, musician, and historian who is known globally for his drumming. As one of the first recipients of the Bix Youth Jazz Band Scholarship in high school, Josh has been playing in bands and orchestras throughout his career, dedicated to Bix-era traditional jazz and other jazz forms through the decades. His orchestra became one of the first local bands to play at the annual Bix Jazz Festival held in the Quad Cities, starting a tradition having at least one local group appear on stage each festival. Josh's other work has included sitting on the board for the Bix Memorial Society, who hosts the annual Jazz Festival, teaching youth drum lessons, giving Bix and Quad Cities music history site tours, and being one of the leading historians of Louis Bellson, the Moline jazz drummer, who pioneered the use of 2 bass drums. Josh, we are so excited. If you want to come on up, please. We're going to present you with the Bix Lives Award. And I can't think of anybody who's more deserving. We've been watching you for over 2 decades grow as a musician, as a person, and we are so thrilled for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just going to talk just briefly, just with the award here. The one person I do want to thank is Rich Johnson, who started all this back in 1995 when I was going to Hunters Club and sitting with the riverboaters. And so in 2002, so almost 20 years, I can't believe it, he got me onto the Bix Festival for the very first time. And it was a battle to get us on there. And it was where my orchestra was all made up of local musicians. And some of the board members at the time said, people coming from out of town don't want to see local musicians. And that's when Rich and I said, well, to them, we're out of town. We're not local. I said, but we're just as good as everybody that comes in from out of town. And that same year, my band received the Gold Cat Award from Gene Goldket's grandnephew. And it started this movement in the Quad Cities to keep the local tradition alive for Bix and for Louis Bellson. And those 2 guys have been so important to our legacy here in the Quad Cities, just as Glenn Miller is to Clarinda, Iowa, just as Louis Armstrong is to New Orleans. We have Bix and Louis Belson. But we also have Rich Johnson, who started this movement a long time ago. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Rich and the Bix board, the Bix Museum, Howard Braran, members of the New Wolverines from Australia. There's so many people to thank, Vince Giordano. That support is what keeps all this going. And so this award is just wonderful to receive, and it's been a long time that I've been doing this music, and I'm so excited for what is to come now, since we're in the roaring 20s again, and can get Bix's music out to everybody, hopefully with a much better year this year than last year. So thank you to the Bix Museum and board, and to everybody for the award. I will really cherish this for many, many years. So thank you.
So the next recipient of the 2020 Bix Lives Award is Carol Schaefer. Schaefer is a Davenport native, known in the Quad Cities for his contractor and construction work through the Henry R. Schaefer Company. As a lifelong Bix fan, Carol is one of the founding members of the Bix Museum's board of directors, and without his knowledge in construction, the museum would not have been built. Since the museum's inception in 2017, Carol has treated his volunteer position on the board like a full-time job, keeping the museum open to the public, managing many of the day-to-day duties while the museum had no staff, and taking the lead to remove all of the museum's collection during the 2019 flood that had flooded the exhibit space here. Carol was instrumental in the finding and hiring of the museum's first director in 2020, and has always been a constant supporter of the Quad Cities' local history, serving as well as a board member at the German American Heritage Center for many years. So with my pleasure, I'm going to present Carol with his award.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Appreciate this. First of all, for those of you who have not formally met Nathaniel Kraft, he is our first new director of our Bix Museum and Archives. And I'd like to have us all give him a hand for all the work that he's done. And congratulations, Josh. Well deserved. Enjoyed your music for so long, and I've enjoyed watching Chauncey grow up too, because I remember when you brought him to the stage many years ago, so that was nice to see. First of all, we are here, and as Josh referenced, that we couldn't be in a better place to present these awards, in my opinion, because these are the men who brought the jazz era to our Quad Cities, or from our Quad Cities to the world. So I do want to appreciate their contributions to the music that we always enjoy. Obviously, this last year was really difficult for our museum. Nathaniel, we hired in January just a year ago, almost to the day, in fact. And so he had to step in at a very difficult time. So I appreciate the work that you didn't get to do that you wanted to do so much. But he has been busy helping us out in all the ways he can until we can get the pandemic out of our hair, and so we can all be living again. This award is special to me, obviously. I will place it, I have in my home next to my fireplace a whole alcove dedicated to Bix and his music and all his memorabilia. And in fact, last night, and late at night, if I want to read the paper quietly, I'll just throw on a little OK CD and enjoy some really wonderful Bix music. And I do that quite often, and I really enjoy that. So again, without Bix, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this wonderful museum that we're so anxious to get going and promote again. The other few things I wanted to say is my history of myself goes back in locally a little over just about 50 years ago now, almost again. And I was one of those at the Holiday Inn basement when the first Bix Festival in Davenport was held on the levee in 1971. We got rained out. Everyone gathered in the basement of the Holiday Inn. It had to be 100+ degrees down there. Poor Don Odette, I didn't know if he'd make it through the night. He was just sweating profusely, as were all the other musicians there. But we enjoyed a wonderful night of music, my wife and I. And we were with our good friends, Chuck Peer, who was an attorney in town, later became mayor. But he was a drummer. His first love was really music and drumming, and he was an extraordinary Bix fan also. Josh, I don't know if you ever heard of Charlie Peer. And he's actually on some of the Bix recordings, you may have heard of. Anyway, extraordinary drummer, and we spent there till 3 in the morning or whenever the last light was doused. We stayed there, had a wonderful evening, I'll never forget it. So it's kind of ironic in a way that 50 years later we're here again still celebrating Bix and his music. I don't know more I can add. I do want to thank Al, Van Tighem, and Howard, who I now want to present special awards to because they have been instrumental in the absolute foundation of the Bix effort that goes on, not just the museum, but all the years that they've contributed dollars and time and advice and so forth. That's just been tremendous. So at this time, first of all, again, I want to thank the Bix board for this award. I want to thank you for being here. But I do want to present the special awards that our board wanted to present today to Howard and to Al. Al can't be here today because he is in Florida with his wife, Betty, and is unable to join us. I think some of you have talked to him recently. I know some of us here in the room have shared that. And his son and grandson, Rick and Alex, are here, and they're recording this presentation so that they can show it to Dad and Grandpa for the award that we want to present to him. So I think I'm going to ask Alex if you would step forward. Or Rick, I'm sorry. Alex is doing the recording, so we're going to have Rick step forward here. Rick, on behalf of the Bix Museum and Archives and all the people that Al has worked with and to promote the archives, for his outstanding financial advice, visionary business acumen, and generous support in the founding and creation of our beautiful museum. We have 2 plaques like this, and there are only 2 special people, your dad and Howard Barron, who's going to receive the next award. They'll be presented and installed by our front entranceway down by the museum. And there are people that recognize Howard and Al over the years, but we wanted a special presentation. They have both retired from our board, as I have myself. And so we are looking forward to new people being on our board. You're going to be on our new board as treasurer. Alex has taken over Al Van Tighem's job as treasurer of our board. Been at it, what, a month or so?
No, it's been about a week.
Just seems long.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is presented to your dad, Rick, to your dad, Albert, for all the work he's done.
I will. Thank you very much. You all know my dad, and you know that when he starts a project, it's a project that he sinks his teeth into. In fact, long after he's left the board here, he's still going to be involved because he just is very interested in what goes on. And of all of the accomplishments he's had over his lifetime, and he's had many, it's the local accomplishments, the things he's been involved in locally that bring the most pride to him. And you know, he started out with a band in the service over in Hawaii. I know he played a little bit for Lawrence Welk, and he played with Ray Anthony, and there were many years in between where he didn't play. He was still very interested. He didn't play. And the one year that my 2 sons were in the Bix Youth Band together, he practiced for an entire year so he could get up and play a set with them. And like I said, I know he cherishes everything he's done locally, and this is just one of the things he sunk his teeth into, and he's, like I said, when he goes for something, he goes for it whole hog. So I'd like to thank everybody here for this award, honoring my father. And he's actually on a Zoom. We're not recording it for him because I believe that's being done here, but he's actually on a Zoom right now watching this live. So something that I would not have thought of. You know, I'm 65, but my 25-year-old son has the forethought to connect him up with that. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'm sure this will take a prominent place on his wall along with all the other things he has up there. I'm sure this will, and he's got one of these also, I know, so he's cherished that very much too. So
he's the founder of that award.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Between awards here, I want to introduce Jim Peterson, our board, one of our board members here. Jim, would you stand up and be recognized?
Slowly.
Yeah. Mike Murphy is the guy that takes care of the museum. Mike, stand up and take the bow. Our other board members, so many of course live out of town, but Jerry Bowers texted in, called in, she can't be here today, and some others too, so but we're glad that you are all joining us, and thank you, Jim, and Howard is our retiring president. One other thing I wanted to say about Al, because I think his middle initial should be P for perseverance, is really what I think Mr. Van Tegan is. There's no one that really, that I know of, that works continuously as hard and never gives up. He always has a plan A, which we try to initiate at the beginning. But before we even start plan A, he has plan B and C ready to go right behind him. Is that true of him? So if A falls flat, it isn't 2 minutes later, he's got plan B in action. So he thinks ahead of time and is a perseverance person. So again, I want to thank Al for all his work again, President. Now, I'd like to present the next award to my good friend Howard Brand. Howard, could you come forward? Howard, I want to present this to you on behalf of our board. I'm going to read it to you, if I might, for the benefit of those that are here. In recognition of Howard R. Brand, President Emeritus, Bix Beiderbecke Museum and World Archives, for his vision, for his leadership, dedication, and generous support in the founding and creation of our beautiful museum. Congratulations, Howard, on behalf of our board.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. Well, it's kind of interesting on how this all occurred, because I was a consultant with a national fundraising firm in 1965-6 that was hired by Augustana College. This is a New York-based consulting firm, and Augie needed to have a national campaign, and I was assigned to conduct that campaign for a 2-year period. So I came to the Quad Cities, and here, and my grandmother, who was living in her 90s, said, "You ought to look up about Bix Beiderbecke, because you're related to Bix Beiderbecke." So I did, checked out, actually went to the gravesite and other things. And so as the 2-year assignment was concluding, I had realized there were no consulting firms in this region. Matter of fact, there were none in the state of Iowa. I did a study, and I said, I'm going to set up my own fundraising consulting business. So in 1968, I left that firm, established my own, and did a lot of the fundraising programs in the Quad Cities and beyond, including the Mark. We were consultants for the private fundraising, and that's where I met Al. And he was on the board of the Mark, Al Van Tegan. and we became fast friends because of our interest in Bix and other things. And to this day, we've become very excellent, long-lasting friends. And so glad that I landed here and was able to contribute and help on the development of the Bix Museum, and particularly helping raise the money, which we did. $800,000 we raised, paid for everything. We don't owe a dime, and we got money in the bank. So thank you for this award. I cherish it very much.
Howard's just a tad modest. I do want to add a little bit to what he neglected to say. His fundraising firm was, of course, the local firm, and half of the public buildings you see in the Quad Cities, besides the Mark, but the colleges, the museums, the other art galleries, all the public cultural buildings that house all of our wonderful cultural objects, in many ways came about because of Howard's successful effort to raise funds for each of those many buildings. I was fortunate in a few cases to be able to build some of those, so I appreciate what you did so I could build a building.
I'm a college.
At all Palmer College, we did all the Palmer. And so I've known Howard for many, many years, and I consider him a very good friend. Howard, thank you again for all your hard work. And he's blessed to be married to Ruth, and they were wonderful hosts for me down in Florida, so thank you again for letting me enjoy your home, and along with Al in Florida the last 2 years ago before the pandemic hit. But Howard has long been a, besides having the Bix blood in his veins, he has an interest in all things cultural in our local area for sure. So it's beyond his hereditary interest. You have always demonstrated an interest far beyond that. So thank you again for that. Nathaniel, I'll turn it back to you. Okay? Again, thank you all.
With that, that'll conclude our Bix Lives ceremony for the year 2020. I know it's 2021 right now, but we're hoping, you know, this year, the 50th anniversary of the Memorial Annual Jazz Festival will happen in person, and hopefully this year's award winner for this, whoever it may be, we're still waiting on when we do our board meeting for it, and we nominate those who have been asked to be nominated. So we'll see who gets to win it this year, and we're excited to hopefully present another really great award to another deserving person. Thank you so much for being here.
One quick question. Do you have anything planned for Bix's birthday, Josh? Is there something you want to announce?
Nothing as of yet with the pandemic, because we don't know where things stand
Yeah.
right now. This past year I did a Bix tour, virtual thing on his birthday, but music-wise, I'm not sure. And a lot of my events have been canceled through April in person. So fingers crossed something can happen.
Yeah, okay.
The museum is planning, we're hoping to maybe do like a Zoom presentation on his birthday, maybe with the German American Heritage Center and other museums in town. I'm working on a virtual map tour that we can have on our website for people to see the different places kind of like pinpointed across the city and surrounding area that will show us maybe some old pictures, so like the Outing Club, some of the museums that host some of the artifacts of Bix, because the Bix Museum isn't the only place. The German American Heritage Center, the Putnam, Davenport School Museum, they all have Bix items, and some of them very prominent, like the Putnam with his cornet. So we'd like to, honor all the places that, keep them alive, even if it's a small thing, or if there's public art, there's multiple statues, the band shells dedicated to them, things like that. So hopefully that people, even if they can't come here to the Quad Cities, they can at least know a bit more about all the places even here. And I know there's places out in New York that are very prominently visited by Bix fans as well. So we want to, honor our footprint of Bix's history. So hopefully this year, if we can't meet in person, we'll have something online.
Thank you.